crashing in and reminds me of the past. And sometimes I hear your name. Sometimes I hear your name. It reminds me of the pain. Well, I guess you read me right, 'cause I am a foolish man. But at least I understand. But at least I understand. And I've learned to live with it. Memories like grains of sand, lying helpless on the beach, but the ones you need so bad, the ones you need so bad, are the ones you cannot reach. Morning, people. Doing Uwe, Billy, Lynn, Sonia, I believe I seen. Italian Princess, how you doing? Good to see you. Anna, good to see you. And yes, I am back. I am out of YouTube jail yet again. Calgary, good to see you. How long that lasts, I guess we'll see. How doing, Uwe?
Hey, Robert. Good to see you.
You too, buddy.
Finally got something to eat, man. I can't even imagine how you feel after not eating for a couple of days, man. Jesus.
Yeah, I know, and I still had to chew kind of weird. That made it kind of fun, but
Yeah, but
it's yes, but everybody, if you didn't know, I have been under the weather quite badly, but I am managing to catch back up. So, I'm going to post a link to a video, and it's in the description of the video as itself too. And it's from Facts Matter with Roman Bamanov. And what I'm going to talk about today is the hypocrisy of YouTube guidelines. What do you think, Uwe? Is that a good topic? Will that get me spanked?
yeah. Honestly, I'm very surprised that that the video from Friday from Dr. Campbell is still up, where he showed the speech of that guy in Parliament. So
yeah, for sure.
It's surprising that they didn't have the balls yet to take that down, but I think they're working on that, because I don't think that's gonna stay there forever, to be honest.
I don't know. That GBN news piece is still up, and he hit him with both barrels, which I will look up and post for people too who are seeing, so you understand what I'm talking about. Yeah, and I agree, and it's not a matter of no proof of anything. It's a matter of they won't tell you exactly what. I don't care. Good to see you.
Yeah, but that is the power they got given, and they use that. You have no chance at all if you not have whatever how many million subs, and you have the money to pay expensive lawyers and stuff to fight them. There's nobody who can do anything against them, and that's what they know, because they got the power given, and they do whatever they want to. They make their own laws, they make their own rules, and nobody is able to do anything against that, to bring it back to the normal. And that's the biggest issue, I think.
Well, that's yeah, and I agree with you on that, Uwe. But it seems they've stretched that a bit too. If you take a look at that video I posted, it talks about people from the CDC and people from, we already know from Pfizer, from testimony they give in front of Parliament over there. Pfizer's own documents that got finally put out. And they made claims in the beginning that the Kool-Aid or jib jab, or whatever you want to call it, would stop the spread of the coof, which blatantly we know is not true now. Now it's arguable. Did they know that back then? Well, the lady that testified in front of the UK Parliament seemed to say no, they did not think that was the case. Albeit the one that testified in front of Congress here just a few days ago seemed to want to backpedal about the cause of that. She tried to blame that on the fact that the virus was mutating.
which was uh, said by many experts, scientists, before they even started the vax, that if you use that in between a pandemic, that's gonna force the variations quickly.
Well, yeah, for sure. And that would happen with anything. It doesn't necessarily
E-
have to be the coof.
Exactly.
But what I'm getting at is they made those claims, and yet I'm getting hit for medical misinformation on YouTube guidelines. But yet my own president of the United States made false claims. Fauci made false claims. The that lady from the CDC herself, sort of, made false claims. Many news stations, many reporters, many mainstream media made false claims. Now, what I want to know from YouTube, and if anybody from YouTube happens to be watching this or listening in the background doing their monitoring, I want to know when you're going to ban Joe Biden. I want to know when you're going to ban MSNBC. I want to know when you're going to ban Rachel Maddow. I want to know when you're going to ban the CDC because they made those false claims as well.
Yeah, but now we are back to that what I said. It's the power. They
Well, well, well,
decide.
well,
They
but see,
decide who they ban,
well,
who they not. You know.
but see, here's the rub, Uwe. Here's the rub. I know in many countries this may not be the case, but in the United States, we have this thing called equality under the law. And if I'm going to be banned and not able to speak my mind on this platform, then anybody who breaks those same violations should be held by the same standard. If they're not going to be holding that by the same standard, then they're essentially discriminating against me for medical beliefs or medical truths, actually.
Yeah, in fact, they do.
And I'm gonna send some emails and maybe post to their Twitter and a few things, and I'm gonna ask them directly. How you doing, Johnny? Good to see you.
It will be interesting if they even respond when
Well,
you
the
send
one's
them.
public facing and everybody reads it, so if they don't respond, that's probably not going to look very good on their part. Um, because I'm of the mind if they're going to pinch me, then they're going to have to pinch all these other people too. Because they made far outlandish claims than I have ever had an opinion on. The only thing I've ever done was look at the evidence and try to at least interpret it as best as I possibly can. So, you know, that's the problem. And I really think more people need to call them out. If I need to do that on their own platform, then so be it. You can actually go to Twitter and look up YouTube's Twitter thing and post to their Twitter, Anna, and that's public. I've never seen them not reply to that. But I really don't know. I'm not sure what their reaction is going to be. This, hell, for all I know, this might get me my second one. Very possible. But as I said, I would wholeheartedly ask everybody to watch that video I posted, and it will lay out everything that I said much more succinctly than I can. He's got, charts and videos and actual testimony of the people, which I could throw up here, but they'd probably hit me with a copyright strike then. So you're kind of a damned if you do and a damned if you don't. You know, that's what I'm looking at is for what they're hitting me for. Then if they're going to hold me to that standard, then they need to hold the people that they claim to the authorities to that standard as well.
They should, yeah.
Especially if they're going to post links and stuff below people's videos and claim they're the authoritative on it, but yet they themselves made false claims, including my very own president made false claims. And they should be held by the same standards.
Yeah, let's hope that that it will be successful. That you get at least the chance to speak. You know,
well,
like I said,
I don't know if it'll be successful or not, Uwe. I do know that I'm quite tired of trying to be as honest and truthful as I can be. And I try to avoid pie in the sky stuff and stuff that can't be proven. But yet, I'm the ones getting hit with this stuff. That's a good question now, isn't it, Billy? And it almost answers itself. How you doing, Fry? You know, and that's the thing. It stifles not only the conveyance of information, it stifles actual dissemination of what we're being told. You know, I mean, I always thought in a free society of free thinking ideas that you're supposed to be able to talk about things that affect society, whether they're good or bad, or whether you like them or not. It becomes irrelevant because nobody is forced to listen. If they don't like it, they can go somewhere else. Quite frankly.
Yeah, I always think about that short part of the interview at Tucker Carlson with Elon, when he said how it was possible to get rid of 80% of the stuff and it's still running. You know, that's.
Yep.
And his answer was just impressive, and to be honest.
Yeah, well, I think he said when you're not running an activist censorship organization, you don't need quite as many people.
Yeah, that's what he said. Yeah.
Yeah, that is quite what he said. So it's funny.
Just amazing.
But it's very true.
Yeah, it is.
And the way I'm looking at things is, you know, I know there's a lot of things on YouTube that I would consider not truthful, but they just don't happen to fall on a particular political side, shall we say. And not that I try to be overtly political about any side. But the fact of the matter is, the only thing that I do on this channel is to try to get to the truth.
That fits a little bit in that article I sent you earlier today.
Yes, it does. Absolutely.
How they have been doing that stuff. That a very, very small minority extremists are able to push their agenda to normally to be the new norm and stuff. So that fits exactly in there. Exactly. And because that's the fact in any topic. It doesn't matter what you take. If it's climate, if it's pandemic, whatever you want to take, gender, woke stuff, It fits in every little piece of the last whatever 50, 60 years.
Oh yeah, for
And it's
sure.
probably going longer. But back in the days, it was not that easy like it is these days with all this social media and TV and then all that shit.
Well, yeah, and Johnny, you're correct, but in this case, truth is not relative. We're not talking about someone's opinion on a color or an idea of a song or a poem or whether chicken tastes good or if I like Coke or Pepsi. That's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about has real world effects on billions of people across this planet. And since the beginning of all this, they've done nothing but stifle anybody that wants to question their so-called authoritative narrative. And quite frankly, I've been very good with my panels. I've always tried to make sure that anything I say or I discuss, I can back up with actual authoritative proofs. Can they say the same? No, they can't. And if they're going to hold me to it, then by damn, I want them to hold the rest of them to it. Generally, I don't get too pissy about things like this because I understand how the things in the world work. But there becomes a point in time when you have to quit tolerating it. But that's the thing, Fry. That's the goal, is to shut people up. Whether people agree with you or not, it becomes no difference because, as I said, nobody's forcing anybody to listen to any damn thing. I mean, that's the point. And yes, you're correct, Johnny. To pose a question seems is now considered an attack. Yeah, right. I always thought that when they make the claim that science is consensus, no, science is not consensus. Science is dissent to get to truth, falsification.
Yeah, it's quite interesting when the most famous and honored scientists getting to be the bad man in a heartbeat because they are not selling and complying to the same shit as they want to hear. There's many names like Luc Montagnier or whoever you want to take. The guy from the US, Mullen, or what his name is, it's the same. So they were all the non plus ultra in the scientists until they decided they go not by the way that was given as the one only and one truth. And from that day on, they tried everything to destroy their careers.
Yep. And it seems to be that's the goal, is to destroy people's credibility and things like that, even though they have just as much of a they have as many letters behind their names as anybody else and are just as much experts in their fields. Give me 1 sec. I want to find another link here real quick if I can. This isn't the one I'm looking for. Shoot. I was going to have all this ready, but I asked Paula this. I got a phone call just like 3 seconds before I was going to press the live button. And I was on that for like 5 minutes and didn't have a chance to get all my links around. Let's see. Shit. Yeah, and I agree with you, Fry. I'll have to keep looking for this. I thought I had it right here, but for some reason I'm not seeing it. And I don't know why that is. And I do believe you knew about it because I sent it to, I think I posted it over on another channel when it first came out. Yeah, I know that's not it. I don't believe. No, that's not it. Let's see. Give me a second here.
Which one is that you're looking for?
The GBN News one, where that guy just tore him apart.
The guy Elon took down.
No. He was talking about their, I can't remember, something like their health ministry or something. Went after the authoritative or the narrative and just tore it apart. Tore it right apart. Give me 1 second. I will find it.
I don't think I saved that one.
I thought I did, but I don't see it in my links. Let's see. Well, and while we're doing that, we can talk about the piece that Dr. Campbell put up about the testimony in front of the Parliament in the UK. And I wholeheartedly suggest people go watch that. A lot of good information, a lot of questions that are raised. In this case, I will say ignorance is not bliss. Let's see.
That speech was one of the best speeches in case of the pandemic and the WHO I have heard in the whole time.
Absolutely.
That was absolutely brilliant. But the next thing is that not many people gonna see that speech, you know.
No. Well, not as many as should anyway, I think.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
And then now you got our government's wanting to basically hand over carte blanche the nation's ability to handle their own healthcare systems in the midst of a pandemic. They want to basically give the WHO all the power to be able to tell what countries what they have to do, what they can or can't do, up to including, many of the things that went on in other countries, quarantines and lockdowns and dragging people off to camps and all kinds of happy shit, which we are all aware did happen. Anybody that claims otherwise hasn't been paying attention. Man, that's going to drive me nuts because I can't find this right now. Do.
It starts with the fact that the WHO is a non-elected council, organization, whatever you want to call it, who is controlled by private people, you know.
Yeah, I want to say that their funding is like 80% privately funded. No conflict of interest there at all. To think that they're going to be unbiased, and shall we say, as the saying goes, bites the hand that feeds them. I don't think so.
I think the guy in that speech said it. Germany is the biggest payer for the WHO, and I think the Bill and Melinda Gates founding is the third. So, and all these that's and that's the other thing that they all are related to any big pharma or other huge corporations that are making profit out of that stuff.
Well, and that's the rub, Uwe. That is the rub. And for anybody that wants to hear something that hits on all the points that would normally, I would have thought if I'd have done this, I'd certainly get pinched. But this is
Isn't that the video you played before on one of your lives?
No, sure not. That's for Great Britain News. That link there. And anybody that hasn't seen it, I would suggest watching it. Not just for the informational purpose, but it's absolutely hilarious.
Yeah.
And this guy doesn't pull any punches whatsoever.
Yeah, I've seen it.
So if you haven't seen that, I would suggest open it up, save the link, or watch it after this panel's over, because I'm not going to run way long with this one. I'm not going to get long-winded today, because this is kind of an impromptu to say hi, I'm back, and tell YouTube that I want some answers. And I intend to go after them. I've not been one to just sit back on my laurels. There's just too much stuff going on to do that anymore. None of us can do that. And I'm not talking about, things that can be dealt with after the fact. I'm talking about regaining everything that we've lost in the past 3 years and getting back to par. If they're going to make claims, then they should be held account to back up those claims like they're doing it to anybody else. Unless they want to come out and say that laws for thee but not for me, or in this case, rules for thee but not for me. I want an answer. I want some answers. I think since I've started this, I haven't done anything nefarious or nor tried to harm people. I've only tried to spread the truth or ask the right questions that should have been asked many times. As I said, when this all started, we were told that, you get it, stops at you. Well, that was a lie. You get it, you won't get sick. Well, that was a lie. If you get it, you won't go in the hospital. That's a lie. All those things that have been brought about and bandied about by mainstream media, Jesus Christ, about mainstream news and even our own politicians, our own representatives from all of our countries, I believe. I don't think it's anything that's native to only the United States. I think Canada and the UK and Germany and Australia and, well, even Thailand, considering that Thailand's king's going after Pfizer now, which is no conspiracy theory that can be looked up. It's absolutely true. And many other countries, not just our own. And I think people deserve an answer. They deserve a lot of answers. Because this type of insanity has to stop. We can't afford to continue this path. Anything that's ever been worth anything that's been done on this planet has been done through debate. It's been done through people and real science and falsification. Yep, you're absolutely true, Italian. But in our case, when it comes to this, if they're going to have standards, then they need to hold those standards across the board. And if they're not going to hold those standards across the board, I want to know why. What makes anybody else any more special than you or I, or somebody in the middle of Africa, or somebody in the middle of Australia or India or any other place that wants to ask why? And if the WHO or the CDC or the FDA or anything like that, considering the documents that have been put out, I think there's a lot to answer for, because they've left many people in a quandary. that they themselves don't even want to admit to. You know, a lot of people were forced into this. People arrested, lost their jobs, their livelihoods, their families, friends, just because of disagreements on these things.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's fair that we aren't able to talk about or debate the truth on things. And I'm not talking about what a truth may mean because of a government agency posted. Considering that last I checked, there's a site that you can go to that tracks retractions, and something like 147,000 papers on the COOF have been retracted. Many of them funded by governmental agencies and corporations. Imagine that. That were all citing themselves that turned out to be bunk. You know, and I'll say this as I say it on many of my panels. Call your representatives. If these people are supposed to represent you, I don't care if they have the same political affiliation or not. It's still their job to represent you. And at this point in time, that seems to be about the only thing we have left that might be effective. Call them every day if you have to. If 1 million people call them up every day, I guarantee it will get their attention sooner or later. And let them know we're watching. We want to know. We want answers. You know. That's the thing. And when we have to do that, we can't just sit back anymore and hope and expect that somebody else is going to do it for us. You know, I mean, I can have my wife attest to it that I chewed on my representative's butt for 45 minutes. To the point they won't even return my phone calls. Have a good one, Johnny. Good to see you, buddy. Sleep well. You know, so those are our options right now. Rattle their cages, email them, phone them. If they're going to talk out in the public, ask them questions. Ask them the hard questions, and don't let them get away with it. If they want to wishy-washy and not answer, ask them again. You know, as something Uwe was pointing out, Elon Musk took some reporters to task. Told them they lied right on their own TV show, which I thought was quite hilarious. You know, some people may not like Elon, but in that case right there, I thought it was awesome. You know, so those are the kind of things that we need to do. Yep, you're correct, Fry. Fear is a control system.
Always been.
Fear. Always has been. Always will be.
Every dictation, autocracy using that. It doesn't matter what you take. If it's back at the Nazis or in GDR or North Korea, China, all works by the same system. So.
Okay.
Yeah,
anyway,
I heard about that too, Brian.
Yeah.
Yes, you're building.
Oh, great. I got company showing. Nice. Perfect timing. Hell of a day.
And what?
Okay, folks. Unless Brian wants to jump up, Uwe and Brian continue this while I take a break for a few minutes. Would you like to jump up, Brian? I know there's some things you'd like to talk about. Yes, no, maybe Brian.
Maybe.
Hey, there he is. Hey, sorry to put you on the spot, Brian.
No, he's not.
Hey, Brian.
Hey, Huey. Hey, Robert.
Hey, buddy. Yeah, in a minute here, I'm going to have to. Hey, knock it off. So
Yes.
if you want to talk about some of those things that we talked about, Brian, I will be back in just a few minutes.
Okay.
I'm sure you can flesh out what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So, and it's important to the people in Canada. Absolutely important to the people in Canada. Actually, it should be important to everybody.
It should be.
You know. So, all right, the floor is yours, Brian. Uwe, you guys got it. I'll be back in a couple.
If I'm not 100% mistaken, I think that what you put up there, Brian, was one of the topics the guy in the UK Parliament had on his speech, that they have the only and one and only truth, and what is disinformation. And I mean, that's what they did over the last 3 years anyway. Basically, you know, there was no other way to go, you know. And the other ways, like let's say Sweden, who made probably in Europe anyways the only different way. They were always accused to, oh, look at the numbers there and look at this, but in fact, in overall, they didn't had any worse numbers than anybody else. So I mean, that shows you that was a proof against the bollocks they was talking about.
Well, that's good. When I put there's a link. I think it was the British Parliament.
Yeah.
It's a clip. It's a clip from Dr. Campbell's show, and yeah, they want who wants the right to define what is myths and disinformation. And I downloaded the amendments to the treaty with basically it's a treaty with the WHO. It's a huge document, and it's a bit concerning.
I would say it's more than a bit concerning, to be honest.
To have an unelected entity have so much power over sovereign countries. Yeah. I only got quarter of the way through the document so far. It's not easy reading because they're scratching out. They're taking out words like may and so they say that it's hard to explain. I don't have I'm only on my phone and I can't pull up the documents. But
let me try to see if I can flesh it out. They're taking out the possibility of the word may and adding in the word will.
No.
In some cases.
Yeah.
Basically, what they're doing is they want to take let's say they could have a suggestion for countries and they want to make it a definitive.
Thank you, Robert.
They don't want to have countries to be able to decide on their own. They're going to decide what is or what isn't.
Yeah.
Exactly. And if I remember correctly from the speech, he said only Liechtenstein is the only country in the planet that haven't signed the contract yet. So everybody else has signed.
No,
And
no, no. The amendments haven't been signed yet.
yeah, but the agreement. I mean, not the contract, but the
Yeah.
agreement. So and and if you think about that, that most of the control in there comes from, let's say, from private foundations and donations, which are basically all related to any big corporation or pharma. That's absolutely disgusting and scary as hell.
Yes, it is.
And that's what he was always saying. Just only thinking about all these mistakes they made in the 3 years of the pandemic. Just only that. Giving and then giving them free hand for everything they want to do. That's absolutely insane. And by the way, the leader of the WHO is a veterinarian. It's not even a human doctor or whatever. It's a veterinarian.
I can't confirm that though yet. On that point though, Uwe, I want to be able to confirm that before I make that claim. What it boils down to, folks, and what Brian's trying to get to, is they want to take away the sovereignty of each nation that signs on to this, not only to be able to dictate their regulations, information, what's passed as, and in a case that I spoke about when I started, censorship, basically what it boils down to. And they also want to have the ability to decide what's considered a pandemic and what's not. So does that mean if they have an Ebola outbreak in Africa, they can claim a worldwide pandemic? You know, if someone flies to, say, Australia or New Zealand or United States or Canada, one person. I mean, we had that happen before. Are they going to claim a world pandemic for that and lock everybody down for it? That's what we're looking at. Am I not correct in that assessment, Brian?
Yeah. I'm just looking something up here.
All right, you go ahead. I don't mean to bother you.
Yeah.
That just seems to me that I can't see where any people of any nation would find that acceptable. I don't want an entity that has no sovereignty to any government. They're unelected by any of us. They are put in by a board that is from the UN. We don't know anything about standards or their qualifications or their biases or who funds them. So I can't see that being a good idea for any country.
I don't think that you can do. It doesn't matter what topic it is. You can't do anything worldwide. It doesn't matter what it is. It's impossible. You have all kinds of different climates, different population, different sickness,
different people,
and yeah, different
governing
people
systems,
and different immune systems and all that stuff, different wildlife and all that stuff. You can't do anything worldwide. That's absolutely impossible. It doesn't matter what it is. It's absolutely impossible.
Well, and common sense would dictate that if there is something of pertinence that needs to be done by countries, their governments should be well and capable of doing that, should they not? Isn't that what we elect them for? I'm fairly certain that's what we elect them for. They're the ones that are supposed to be making the decisions for us in each of our countries, not for are allowed to hand over responsibility, which is another word for accountability, to that. I don't know what Kevin Hoven is, but whatever. So, in my opinion, it's foolish for not only an electorate, but the people of those countries to not expect their governments and their politicians to make the choices that are right for their people. Not a body of unelected people who have no accountability to anybody. They can say or do anything they like at any point in time. And who's going to hold them accountable? That's the problem.
You can't take the self-responsibility from every adult with not even any evidence about what they said. You know, if really would happen what they said, we would have seen millions of dead bodies on the freaking streets, man. That would happen, you know, because that's what they say. We're all gonna die. We're gonna get it, or we die. If we don't get the shot, we die, you know, or we getting really, really sick, you know. Nothing anything of that was based on any evidence or any thing, because it was new. They telling you this is a complete new virus or whatever, and but they know exactly what's going to happen. I mean, you're going to be kidding me. And the death rate was less than 1%, way less than 1%.
Yeah, give me 1 second here. TPR, what link are you speaking of? I don't believe it's anything I've posted. And if it isn't, it's not something I'm discussing. In my description.
That is this British journalist, isn't it?
Give me 1 second. I need to check, make sure something.
I think it is.
What is your problem with Romanoff and the Epoch Times? Everything in here that he says, I do believe is backed up empirically. If you're talking about what's posted in the description of my video. But anyways, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Uwe. You're correct. How you doing, Curtimus? Good to see you.
Yeah, I'm just going through my information here. So from the Bill and Linda Gates Foundation, according to the Bill and Linda Gates, they've contributed $4,667,000,000 to the WHO.
Yeah. No influence peddling there at all.
No.
Hold on a second. TPR, he doesn't say anything about Hoven or anything like that. Nor do I believe he's twisting words. Do me a favor. If you're going to attack something, attack the message, not the messenger. If there's something that he can be provably wrong on, prove it. Because to my knowledge, he's using stuff right from the very people's own mouths. Drawing a parallel or same thing is the same damn thing, guy. It's a piss poor debating tactic. Anyways, back on topic. Yeah, and that's only one of one thing. You know, and as I said, it doesn't really matter at this point where that comes from on that fact. It boils down to me that there should be each country's own accountability to their own government, not to an organization that has no accountability to anybody.
If this topic has been an open-minded discussion worldwide about what happens, what is possible, what is the best way, we would not even sit here in these chat rooms and would debating about what's coming out step by step now, and people trying to deny or to prove them wrong because they're bringing up facts that nobody wants to hear for several reasons, you know. We would not even sit here because we would had an open discussion with scientists and doctors from all over the world, and all that stuff would never happen. Never.
Well, that's the whole thing when it comes to that. It's the peer review process is also supposed to be, you're supposed to try and falsify things, not try to prove them correct. You're supposed to try to prove them wrong and see if they uphold to it. If they don't, then there's a problem. And what we're seeing now is not that. We just keep getting more and more stuff being put out that, shall we say, isn't factual for the same thing that we were told in the first place. That's not my topic at the moment, TPR. I haven't researched any of that stuff, nor am I going to get into it.
Exactly, Casey. That was from the beginning.
You missed the lion's share of it there, Diamond Lou. Basically speaking about things that are coming out that we were told otherwise. And now, even in front of our own Congress or my Congress, they're trying to backpedal on it.
Hey, Gerald.
Well, it's not a matter of TPR for supporting my point of view. My only thing that I'm looking at is I want truth. And we were given at the beginning, whether a person agrees with it or not becomes irrelevant. When the facts as they were given to us in the beginning have changed and changed and changed. And many people have lost jobs, friends, lives, many other things. And it doesn't matter what side of the political camp you're on. That shouldn't be. Government shouldn't be doing that. Nor should they be trying to hand that over to a third party with no accountability to the people from their own countries. And that to me is just a given. It's obvious. I don't think Uwe would want my country or anybody politician in my country making rules in his country. Nor do I think Australia would want a Canadian making rules in their country or vice versa.
But sadly, I got to say that is already a fact that your country makes decisions for my country. I got to say that's sadly a fact for many, many years.
Well, unfortunately, Uwe, I have to agree with you. It's a lot of influence.
And
there's a lot of that going on.
And that doesn't mean that most American citizens agree to that or support that. That means that most of them don't even know. And even if they would know, they would not willing to do that because they would have their focus on their own country, which would be like in every other country as well.
Well, and that's one thing that has kind of disturbed me is our leaderships in all of our countries when it comes to accountability has been lacking, shall we say, to put it nicely. They don't, to the point that they don't even listen to their own people. And as the stuff that Brian's going through and trying to read, they're even taking out any questionability about who's going to have control. And I think I'm correct in that assessment, Brian?
Yeah. They want to go to a one-size-fits-all, which, as we know, that never works.
And if you really want to blow your minds, I would suggest you go look at the UN's recommendations for what they believe should be decriminalized after you watch some of these the videos and stuff that have been put out. And that's one of those things where I say, do your own research. Go read it for yourselves and look at what they want to decriminalize. You're not going to be pleased.
And now it's getting in a. Now we are getting to serious crime. What they want to decriminalize, and that's something. If people not waking up now, seeing what's going on, and they come back to that article because it was part in that article I sent you earlier as well. This topic, what gets forced by minorities, and not just recently. They started even back in the 80s. They started talking about that shit,
Yeah.
But back in the days, nobody was noticed that because there was no social media. There was no cell phones or whatever. There was no connection from continent to continent like we have these days. Then it would be maybe back in the 80s. If that would be started, that would be possible that it's getting shut down in just a couple of weeks or months, that nobody would even have the balls to bring that up in public, But now It's the normal things for them because they're getting supported by the big media and by some extremists, by celebrities. They bring that shit up, and they trying to bring it up like a normal thing, like everything else, like eating an apple or giving any children in the neighborhood some candies. It's absolute insane what's going on.
Yeah, for sure.
And people still sitting there and I don't get it, honestly. That's something that will never reach my freaking brain. Never.
No, TPR. I'm referring to the UN's recommendations, not any particular countries. All their stuff they have listed on their site, documented. It's fairly easy to find.
No, we won't even pick that up here. That would be definitely shooting the channel down while we are talking.
Yeah, I know, like they did the last time.
Yeah, can't even pick that up.
And that's there's another thing too that I want to address about how much of this stuff that comes out, that it keeps people so confused and not knowing what or where to even find the truth anymore. You hear and see one thing, and then the next thing you know, that narrative changes, or they change and decide to push out something else. And it may be you looked at it yesterday, and how many people check from day to day that they've updated or changed their stuff. Most people are too damn busy to be doing that stuff. It keeps people chasing their tails in circles, and it keeps people arguing between each other, because what one person may think to be factual, maybe the next day is not. No matter which side of the fence you may be on. On many different things, not just governance being one of them. Exactly what we're talking about handing over, in my opinion, what each country's own government should be doing, not a unelected third party bunch of bureaucrats that are funded by questionable sources. For somebody to say, well, that's there's no influence there. Well, bullshit. There sure is. As we all know, in many cases, money that makes people do a lot of strange things in this world. And it also makes people do a lot of things that aren't necessarily honest. Our problem is now is not only parsing out what the actual truth is, it's being to know whether or not it's the truth that day or the next day. Yeah, that's kind of strange, ain't it, Daryl? And there's another rub when it comes to that. That's like Brian saying he's going through this document that's been amended. Can I assume hundreds of times?
Well, it's hard to tell because it's the latest. It's the latest document. So it's this one was August. When was this? August 17th.
Of
So the recent document.
correct. August 17th of 2022, right?
2023.
How can it be August 17th of 2023?
Oh, sorry. April. Sorry, April.
April. Okay, that makes much more sense.
Just the other day.
I say, are we in the future now, Brian?
Yeah.
Man, you should run for a politician. That's pretty good shit.
Yeah, I know.
So, anyways, if you people have not read this stuff or haven't looked into it, I would wholeheartedly suggest you do. And as I said, I'm going to say this again. Call your politicians. Call them every day. It don't matter. Make their phone ring off the hook. You doing TPR?
I'm good. I'm just trying to save you from reading because I know that it's not easy for you. So
Yeah, I don't mean to be short with you. Just
No.
This last strike that I've got, I am extremely pissed.
well, I don't pay attention to political messaging. So looking at it from science, all the claims that they made is like, well, yeah, that works for variant 1, but flu viruses mutate on their own very quickly.
Well,
That's why none of what was said. And he's doing the Kant Hovind thing where he's like got his hands up, making air quotes of the evolution of science. Like, okay, I get it. You don't understand what that actually means, dude. Like, not you, I mean him, right? But to do it in such a childlike fashion, it's just like, oh my God, you are a flat Earth creationist.
I'm not quite, but I don't equate the two.
I do. I can see the pattern between them.
Well, it doesn't matter. I still don't equate the stuff.
Yeah, like I said, I never followed the political version of it.
Well,
like the idea of stop the spread wasn't supposed to be about a vaccine.
No,
it's supposed to be about standing apart from one another, which actually does work.
Only to a very short extent and not effective enough to be outside the error bars. Proven.
And the idea of masks, when they're like, oh, well, the virus is smaller than the holes in the mask. Of course it is. A mask is designed so that you don't cough and spit onto everything, which some people did just to make a statement.
Wait. You can go right on the CDC's own website.
I'm aware. I just understand how a mask works and what it's supposed to do. Again, I don't follow the politics of it.
Right.
Because I'm like, you're a politician. You don't know shit about science. You just tell what you get told. So I don't listen. Right? I don't listen to my glorious leader.
Well, what I'm getting at is when it comes to what I'm pointing out here is our problem is our glorious leaders, any of them, no matter who they are, have balked at their jobs. And in my case here, when it comes to getting to actual science stuff, which is what I do, I don't care about their politics either. I want the truth. And we weren't given that. And the narrative changes daily. To the point to where I get claimed and removed from my ability to do what I'm doing for no more than quoting what their own stuff says now. And that's a problem. I have a real problem with that because if they're going to hold me to that standard, then they should hold all these politicians and news stations to that standard because they were all banding this about in the beginning. Anybody that tells me otherwise either wasn't paying attention or had their head up their ass. And that's a real problem. And in my opinion now, with considering that I've been through this before, this isn't my first dance with these people. I'm no longer putting up with bullshit. If they're going to claim that that's a guideline or it's authoritative, then they need to hold them by their very same standards, which means they should be taking them off because they have been caught in lies numerous times already. If they're going to use something as an authoritative, then they better be authoritative. That's our problem. Anything that becomes a dissent or has been questionable and then has turned out to be factual, many people have already paid the price for. So are they going to retroactively make these people whole? Doubt it. Can they? Which would be impossible. And that's always a dangerous road to walk upon when they say any one entity is the authoritative on anything. That's saying that they're infallible, which we all know is a lie.
Let me add something to your comment, TPR. The scientists they were listened to, or where they got the advices from, they are selected, and they got only them advices they want to hear, and not what is good or bad or fact, whatever. They just got that what they want to hear, and
Yeah.
that's why it was only selected scientists and doctors they were allowed to speak. Everybody else who had a different opinion on all the stuff was shut down immediately.
I'm just,
That
I'm,
was
I'm
everywhere.
well,
in
it
every
always comes,
country.
it always comes across like I'm angry. I'm totally not. I'm a really chill guy. But my curiosity here, you said I pronounce it Uva, right?
Uwe.
Uwe.
Uva. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. I was just trying to get it right. And it's not a demeaning question. It's just a question. Have you ever worked for a really big company? Like a really, really big company, like 100,000 plus employees?
Nope.
Okay. That is exactly the same way they run any business. Right? You don't want dissenting voices. You want one clear voice of authority. And yeah, they're going to pick the one that goes along with the line that's to be towed.
But wait. You're doing a false equivalency there.
Why? It's exactly the same thing.
No, it's not.
It's the business of science.
No.
They want them to follow the government's line.
Well, I agree with you on that one. It is the business, but it's not science.
They're
Well,
scientists, but they want them to agree so that there's no dissent, so that it's one clear, unified voice.
Yeah, absolutely. But it is
And I'm
not.
not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying that's just the way that it is. That's all I'm saying.
Well,
That's why I mean, like, I'm not really confrontational. I'm just
No.
bringing that perspective.
Hold on. And I'll agree with you on that. That is what has happened. But that's not science. It stops being science the very minute that consensus has come through other means, whether it be financial or it's all financial when you get down to it. If that's going to be the means, then that's no longer science.
Yep. Not disagreeing. It's the reason I don't follow the messages, and the reason I say glorious leader when I refer to our prime minister is he acts exactly like Kim Jong-un. Like, if you disagree with him, if you honk a horn in Ottawa, they'll pull out soldiers. I'm like, are you serious? This is the stuff they do in North Korea.
Well,
so I just now call him our glorious leader because I guess that's who he is.
The thing of it is, when it comes down to what we're talking about, is exactly that, TPR. And now they want to hand over not just my country or your country or or many countries the authority to dictate, to use the word properly, what is information, what is disinformation, what protocols are, what a pandemic is, what a pandemic isn't, without any of our own governments being the ones being held accountable for our own countries. As much as they would like to believe so, we still are our own countries. I no more want to be Canadian than many of you would want to be Americans or United States citizens, to put it properly. And there's the rub. No more than anybody would want to be held to account to German standards or Australian or Russian or Chinese or Taiwanese or, in your reference, North Korean. And that's a problem. That's a huge problem.
I live in the land of the problem. I'm very sure Brian knows exactly what I mean, because
Oh.
we had to revolt. We had to revolt against our own government to get them to shut the F up.
Yeah, Gerald, you're correct. Large Organization 101, only approved opinions may be heard. But that's in a business world or a corporate world, and they're fine to run their businesses that way if they so choose. But we're not talking about a business. We're talking a representation of countries and people.
That's how governments work now. Unfortunately, they are just corporations.
Well, I won't disagree with you on that. Is that the way it's supposed to be? Not in any way, shape, or form. At least not in mine.
Oh, hey, like, look, I'm stuck in a rock and a hard place where my local representatives of government, the only people we want in power, like, it's like every politician, there's always something about them that's totally cockeyed. Like, it goes completely the wrong direction. So our local representative is like, we're taking away free healthcare from Canadians because we can't afford it. And I'm like, that's Justin Trudeau's problem, not mine. Okay? And the one representative that we have for a normal government is like, yeah, let's take away free healthcare. I'm like, oh my God, you're just digging your own graves. I'm going to be stuck with liberals for the rest of my life. And my tax dollars are going to be spent painting frickin' rainbows.
Yeah,
So
that's a whole.
who's taking away free healthcare?
Oh God, it's not Rachel Notley. It's the UCP representative. Danielle Smith is her name. That's right.
That's what the NDP are saying. I haven't really.
I've heard her in an interview say it, and I'm like, oh, please don't be crazy. Can you just for once be a normal human being in government? Just once, one time in my life, can we have a normal person? But no.
I honestly thought she's awesome and doing a great job for Alberta. I never heard about this topic, but it sounds a bit weird.
We used to not have free healthcare in Alberta. And then they fixed it. Now they want to go back. My fight with it was I got divorced, and they're like, well, you have to pay for your wife's healthcare. And I'm like, I don't have a wife. So I'm not paying for her healthcare. She doesn't even live in this country. Well, you have to pay for her, but she doesn't live here, and she's not my wife. And it's like, oh my God, how dumb are you? Don't let the two brain cells in your skull run into each other, because you'll be even more retarded.
So you have inside your country, you have different ways to have healthcare. So the provinces have their own healthcare systems.
Yep, it's administered provincially, but managed federally. And they're different governments between each province. So, like the entirety of Western Canada, like 3/4 of our country voted for Conservatives. One city, Toronto, voted for Liberals. And then on the East Coast, in Newfoundland, they voted for Liberals. That's it. And Quebec is always Bloc Québécois. But yeah, it's very fragmented, and our country is at war with itself. Like, way worse than it is in the States. We just don't show it.
I don't know if it's any worse or not. There's a lot sight unseen here as well. And I think that's kind of a commonality across the planet at the moment. Much more so than most of us would like to admit. unfortunately. Which is a lot of the things as I was touching upon before. And I'm not trying to touch about any particular thing, but you did make some damn good points. When
Yeah,
a
like I said,
person
I just
goes,
didn't like your messenger. That's all I was saying.
yeah, well,
It's like
let me
I could.
finish what I'm saying.
Yep.
Well, what I'm getting at is even in our discussions, there becomes tension because one person's truth may change because they read something that was supposed to be authoritative, and another person may have read it the next day and it's changed again. Or, like in your guys' cases, many of the things you've just explained in your country. And that seems to be ubiquitous across the Western world at the moment. And it serves nothing more than to keep people basically at their own throats, which, as we all know, is if you want to know the art of war, that's one of the only things you do. You get your enemy to destroy themselves from the inside. And it's happening very well in all of our countries. And it's really apparent in all of our countries. The division, and not just in political divide, but social and cultural and all different kinds of things now. Everything is thrown in everybody's face on a day-to-day basis. If you're not one of us, you're one of them. And that wouldn't matter if you chew bazooka bubble gum or if you choose Bubblicious. That's enough of a difference for people nowadays.
Well, yeah, if you're gonna sit there and you're gonna chew anything other than Bubblicious, we can't be friends, dude.
Well, see, there you go.
It's over.
Coke or Pepsi. And I don't mean to make light of that to everybody that's listening, because it is become very, very apparent that it's destroying all of our countries. It's destroying our economies. It's destroying our social systems. It's destroying our healthcare systems. It's destroying families. I still have relatives that I can't talk to. And it never seemed to be such a polarized thing as we have today. And I'm sure there's many people in this chat that have experienced the same thing. Yes, dear, I know you're Mountain Dew. Sorry, you're an outlier. Piss in a bottle, Jesus, with sugar added. So, and that's what I'm getting at. And the very same thing that I talked about in the beginning of this panel was that if I'm going to be held to a standard, or TPR or Uwe or Brian or anybody in chat, whether it's your government, whether it's the ability to speak out, as TPR pointed out, if you honk your horn in Toronto or Ottawa, you're seen as a domestic terrorist, essentially. That may even be literally. I don't know. They may have changed that now. I could be wrong.
They were freezing bank accounts at the height of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a whole other ball of, that's a whole other can of worms. I'm not going to go down the road yet.
They frozen bank accounts of people they just donated to the truckers,
Yep. And I used to work in the trucking industry for years, so I'm like, you've got to be kidding. Like, these guys are just saying they've had enough. You in my head, I'm like, you can't do this. But then again, I'm like, yeah, you can. You are the government. So.
Well, no, that doesn't matter. Just because of the government doesn't give them carte blanche to do any damn thing they want. That seems to be something that has taken a hold in many countries, where governments seem to be able to just, well, I say it, so be it. Us in the Western world, no, that's not the way things work.
I don't want to make this about Canada because it's not the point of your panel, but I'll leave it with this. Our glorious leader, all hail Trudeau, changes laws. He does the thing that Donald Trump wanted to do, which is I'm going to absolve myself of all crime because I'm the president. You know, he had the same thought. And Justin Trudeau actually does it. He's gotten out of so many things that would put any other person in prison for the rest of their lives. Not that we have that in Canada, but I mean, he's gotten out of everything because he's just like, oh, I'll appoint a panel and they're all my employees. And they're like, oh, look, we found no problems here. So that's why I'm like, well, you're the government.
Okay, well, I want to address one thing that you're saying about Trump, and I will counter with the only person that I've seen that have actually covered up his crimes has been Biden, and that's provable now by our very own three-letter agencies and tax agencies and the paperwork that's come out now. The only thing they seem to be able to get Trump on is they claim that he filed his paperwork improperly, which in any jurisdiction would have been nothing more than a misdemeanor one time. And in his case, he doesn't file his paperwork.
There you are.
So, and yes, I have looked into that very closely. So anyways, but to get beyond that, because I don't want to turn this into a debate about presidents.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm like, I don't want to follow the whole Canada path.
Well, I want to make sure I levy the field there, make sure it's even. But what I am getting at is what you're talking about, your current leadership, my current leadership, Uwe's, many people from other countries here. I know we have some Australians and some New Zealanders and I believe a couple Asian countries, which is very possible, and probably maybe one or two from the UK. And frankly, I think I might have a new one from France, which really blows my mind. You know, all these things going on have been following the same, shall we, how can I put the architecture? To where you have people who can't come to a consensus about how they address their governments. Whether they agree or not on something becomes irrelevant. It's whether or not their governments are held accountable. So that's where it stands now. And
I think it starts with the possibility for them to set the countries under the declare of a war, which they did with the Emergency Act or whatever you want to call it. Every country has a different name for that. But it basically meant you are under war conditions where they can change laws without using the regular way and can do whatever they want to. And this was not even any way close to a situation that was dangerous for the majority of the population. So
absolutely,
if we can, that is the thing I think what has to be taken out of that has to be in the constitution, and nobody was ever thinking about that. That a president or a prime minister, whatever you want to call them, can declare the country under a war situation for no reason. You know, there was no reason for doing that.
No, there was actually supposed to be reasons, Uwe. And I do believe there's drafts for papers for that to be rescinded here in the States. Whether it makes it through the Senate now is a different story. But it's the same thing, the inquiry they had there in Canada about whether or not what Trudeau did was legal. And I believe there's a citizens' inquiry on this, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he'll just absolve himself.
Well, and that shouldn't be happening. That should be impossible. That
Yeah.
shows how broken our politicians really are. Not just not the system. It's the people within it.
I followed the first 2 weeks of the inquiry from Canada, and after I've seen what that is a freaking shit show, I said, you know what? It makes no fucking sense. I watch here one more minute because nothing gonna happen here. Nothing at all. And we all knew it in advance that nothing gonna happen because the problem is if the investigation comes out of the internal group, how should that work? You know, how can that work if internal involved in that stuff do the leading of the investigation? How should that work out that anybody got called out or got called guilty? Yeah, and that's the same here, and that's the same in every country. If that is not an independent commission or whatever, that never ever will anything happen.
No,
Nothing.
and that was where that was flawed. It was supposed to be independent, and it really wasn't. It was supposed to be a public inquiry, which turned out to be, in my opinion, and just my opinion, because I'm not Canadian, it was very much influenced by a political leaning, and it should not have been.
We just learned to accept that this is just going to be the way it is. I won't be surprised if he's the first 3-term prime minister.
Yeah,
he'll
well,
just change the law to suit it, and I'm like, all right, whatever.
That's where I, in my opinion, like if that were happening here, if it were to try to happen, there would be a major problem. There already is a major problem. You know, and unfortunately, I have to agree with you. If this shit isn't stopped, this is going to become normalcy, and this cannot be. This is no way, shape, or form conducive to Western countries' political structures, no matter which country we live in. We all have our similarities, we all have our differences, but in the same token, we don't live in North Korea, as you put it.
Well, just one interjection here. We don't have any term limits on the Prime Minister in Canada.
That's a scary thought.
I thought it was 2-term because I've never seen anyone go 3. You usually step down at the end and you're not the leader of the party anymore.
No. Nope.
Maybe it's a party limit. Like you can only be the leader of the party for 8 years.
No.
That's the same here. You know, we don't have any limitation. That's why we had our glorious Chancellor Angela Merkel, who made the basement for the destroying of our country in 16 years. And now these green lefty communism, Maoism government we have now just have to turn a couple more buttons and then it's done. You know, this country is almost done.
Well,
We have the highest energy prices in the world. We have the most taxes in the world. And now they go and even making so many new laws and bylaws and all kinds of stuff that we're going to lose our big industries as well. I mean, they started destroying our car industry, which made Germany what Germany is. You know, that was probably the engineering that brought us big time on the top. We were number 3 or number 2 on the export in the world. Now I think we are on whatever 14, 15 or something like that. So, and now the big companies like Bayer, like BASF, they all gonna go with their new plants going to Asia because they can't afford it anymore to produce here. You know. So, and then we get all these foreigners in here. You talking about in Canada about 40,000 you got last year. We get 35,000 every month. In this little small country, man, which fits 25 times in Canada, and we getting 35,000 coming in here, foreigners from the Middle East from Africa every month. 35,000 with no control. There's no border. There's nothing. They come in here even with fake passports. They just come in here. You know, unbelievable.
Yeah. And that's, believe it or not, Uwe, that's been happening everywhere, not just here in the States. It's happening in Canada as well. I don't know about Australia, considering they're an island, essentially. I don't know what their immigration is like. I'd have to talk to somebody from there. I can't say anything authoritative on it.
Well, Uwe, I'm just curious. Are you like, is your chancellor blaming you personally for what happened in World War II?
My
Like,
country?
do you still get called that word, the N word? You like your version of the N word?
No, but if you are a proud German, then you are automatically a Nazi. Yes, you are.
Okay, well,
Here
That's
you
what-
are not.
that's what our-
You are not allowed to be a proud German. Then that declares you as a Nazi.
yeah, that's
That's
what our
how
leader
Germany
does.
works.
He
Yeah.
blames all white men for what happened from the Pilgrims, and I'm like, okay, enough. Like, it's totally legal for people to be racist against me, even though I'm not white. I'm still to blame, and I'm like, how is that okay? But I can't say anything bad back, like that. Like our leader does this to us.
Yeah,
It's a
if you go by
joke.
the modern society these days and by all these bullshit, then we are racist because we are white. You know, that's what they basically say. You know, you are white and you are automatically a racist because you are white. You know.
Yeah. I'm European,
So-
but that therefore makes me even closer to the problem because it was the
Oh, no,
Europeans that
you're
came
right.
over, and I'm like, holy
You can't
shit.
tell somebody else that you're peeing.
I'm gonna be peeing in a minute, but not yet.
Sorry about that. I just had to interject a little bit of jocularity in this because it's such a sad conversation that we shouldn't even be having to have. Not in this day and age.
No.
Look what Gerald said in chat, and that's in 2011. When the nuclear power plant in Asia blow up because of the tsunami, which we can't never even have here because we have no earthquakes and we have no tornadoes, we have no hurricanes and whatever.
You
But-
don't live on the ocean.
Yeah, we live on the North Sea and we live on the Baltic Sea, but that's and we have floodings here, yes, but there's no nuclear power plant anywhere near the.
Well, short of an asteroid
what-
landing in the middle of that, Uwe, you're not going to have a tsunami.
No, we will not. And then our Kanzlerin, glorious Kanzlerin Merkel, decided that we're gonna shut down all our power plants, our nuclear power plants, until 2022. They started and took them all down, and we had 3 left until last week on Saturday, and then they shut that last 3 down. With the highest energy crisis in the world ever, with these stupid mandates and restrictions against Russia, we have the biggest energy crisis in the world. And we shutting the industrial nation Germany, we shutting the last 3 nuclear power plants down, and our greenies saying us that the wind and the solar will be converting that. But what we did, on the same day, we shut ours down, and there was only about, I think, 3 or 4% of our total power producing was the last 3 nuclear power plants. On the same day, they shut it down. They bought the nuclear power from France on the same day. And the next effect is, the next effect is when they shut them down,
Oh boy.
we forcing our coal power plants and our gas power plants more. So we have about, I will not lie, but I think we have about 45% coal power at the moment here, if it's not even more, and about 25% gas. And that makes us the most dirty power producers in Europe. Our CO2 footprint with our power plants now is the worst ever here in this area in Germany, in Europe, because we're using coal now instead of nuclear, which was the most safe power plants you can ever have here. There was never, and like I said, we have no earthquakes or tsunamis or whatever can come here to destroy them. And the next thing is, our economy minister, who is one of the greenies who made the decision, goes to the Ukraine and says in an interview with the mainstream media, he says, yeah, it's okay that the Ukraine running their 3 nuclear power plants because they are here and they are safe and they are running, and that's okay. And ours are not safe because maybe a bomb could hit our power plants. I mean, the bombs, if I'm not mistaken, the bombs flying around Ukraine at the moment. So, you know, and nobody is even standing up and saying, "Wait a minute." I mean, yes, we have a couple journalists, we have a couple parliament members. They say, "Wait a minute, what's going on here?" But that's it. The mainstream media pushing the green agenda, this freaking climate shit. You know, we have kids here, 15, 18, 20 years old. They gluing themselves with glue on the street to lock freaking main roads, to lock autobahns and stuff because of the climate change. Have you ever seen that shit? They lock down complete the main street in Berlin or Hamburg or whatever.
There's
That's
an
absolute
incident.
insane.
There was an
Absolute
incident in
insane.
snooker like last week with that.
Oh yeah, I heard about
Yeah,
that.
exactly. There was the same thing. How in the hell can these people get even in there? You know?
I was thinking if this was Vegas in the 60s, you would have gone through the door, not out it.
Yes. Yeah,
And
and you wouldn't have been walking back out. Let's put it that way.
Somebody call the
And
cops.
nobody,
It looks like you got hit by a car. Whoops.
yeah, and nobody got even really angry about it. You know, they just handled it like, oh yeah, well, was a stupid kid. You know, it was not a stupid kid. That one lady was over 40 years old, I think, or even 50 years old, and the other bloke was, I think, in his 30s. So how can they get in there and do that shit? I don't get it, honestly.
Shit, I'm a little more violent. You'd never be able to use your hands to open a bag again if you did that to my pool table, and I would ensure that.
Careful what you say. They will use that against you now.
Well, I'm in Alberta. I'm already a criminal. So whatever.
Yeah, well, okay. You know, and that's testament to the craziness going on in the world. As I was saying to Uwe just the other day, I get up, I literally listened to and read 5 news pieces. 5, only 5. And it's some of the craziest shit that you can imagine, that what 20 years ago would have been all over every news station as what the hell's going on. And now it's everyday occurrence. Every day.
Well, the thing is now, like, okay, we can share this. Like back in the day, we didn't have the internet, so there was no way to share this news other than, you know, the newspaper. Now we all share the event, you know, what the terrible thing that happened, the guy opening a bag of orange dye. And because we do that, because we share it, we give them more power. So the idea now is don't share it. Don't give them power. Don't give them an audience. If you want to glue yourself to the road, you're a speed bump.
I wholeheartedly agree with you on that. Unfortunately, that's not the reality of the situation at the moment. You know, and there's a few things that I'm going to bring up on another panel in the future, but just from that one day, a lot of things changed. Narrative changed, truths changed, facts changed, and quite disturbingly so. Not just in what's going on now, but even things that happened 24 years ago, 22 years ago, excuse me. Because those things, those truths and those facts have been hidden from the people. And now they're brought out, and they're not exactly what we were told. And just as Uwe's pointing out with their power plants, they talk about irony at its best. They're shutting down, in Germany's case, yes, they did have the safest record for nuclear power plants. And they're buying power from another country that's produced by nuclear power plants. Yeah, nothing about that makes any sense whatsoever.
Let me add something to that, and that makes it even more crazy than I already said. It's not only that we buy the nuclear power from France and Belgium, which has by far older and by far worse nuclear power plants, but last year the European Union Parliament declared the nuclear power as carbon neutral. So that means that the European Union supports, I think, I'm not 100%, I think about 36 or 37 billion. They're gonna support countries in the European Union if they build nuclear power plants. And as Germany is the biggest payer in the European Union, that means that we shut ours down and we paying with our tax money now, Belgium, Poland, France, Czech Republic, whoever gonna build, they have all plans for building new nuclear power plants. We paying them with our tax money and supporting them that they build up new nuclear power plants. And to give you whoever is not aware of the geography here, this is Germany's exactly in the middle of this crap. Belgium is just a stone. You can throw a stone here. There's 3 nuclear power plants in Belgium on the German border. The same in France. I think France has about 50 nuclear power plants, which has, I think, 4 or 5 are very close to the German border. And the Netherlands gonna build nuclear power plants. Poland has a plan to build 6 until 2040, I think. Czech Republic has plans to build new nuclear power plants. That's all. It doesn't matter if that blows up in Frankfurt, in Munich, in Berlin, or in Prague, or in Paris. It doesn't matter. We would be all screwed, you know. That's about the safety what I was bringing up. It's absolutely nuts. It's completely nuts.
Radioactive contamination can't cross borders, Uwe. Sorry.
No, I know. They have an invisible freaking fence there. Yeah.
Yeah, good to see you too, Hooper.
Hey,
You're
Hooper.
correct.
Hey, Hooper. Yeah, no, I wanted to go back to what you originally talked about, Lee. That's my thing is I'd never followed, well, this is what the CDC says. And I'm just like, okay, I understand how a virus works. That was my whole point. What I don't like is when I see people that use hand wavy techniques and make fun of science because they don't understand it. That just like, oh, that.
Well, and I agree, but in the same token, and I will tell you this, and the people on this chat can attest to this. In the past 2 weeks, I've got to experience a few firsts in my life. One of them was to take on a PhD one-on-one, and I shut his ass down because he was too arrogant about the information he thought he had. Didn't do his due diligence and found out it was wrong. So it falls upon many sides. Science, and what we used to call science, has become politicized on many fronts. And unfortunately, it's corrupted many of our scientific systems. And that's a huge problem, a very, very huge problem that we're going to be paying for well into the future. Not with just science itself, but people's faith in it. they've absolutely destroyed that.
That was
What's-
also my point of finding you that link about hydrochloric or hydroxychloric. Was I was looking for something to support that it did something, and I'm like, I don't understand, and I'm like, I'm honest about that. I'm like, I don't understand how an antibacterial agent could help with a virus. So I went looking for it, and that's why I sent you the link.
Well, okay.
Right.
I'm not going to delve down this because I have done some reading on some of this stuff, but it's more to it than just that.
Yeah, no, like I said, it's something that supports exactly what you're saying, and that's why I went and looked for it for you.
Yeah,
Right, because I'm not like a
trust me,
really
I-
confrontational
I-
person.
I intend on addressing some of the things that were allowed to allow many of the emergency uses in all of our countries to be done. One of those was that there wasn't a therapeutic to be used. Well, there actually was. There were several. Hey, knock it off.
I was gonna say totally off topic, but what's wrong with the puppers?
My wife is home,
Mhm.
and he's a whiner. So
It's just curious. It's like, what is wrong with the poor puppy dog?
yeah, the
Yeah,
wife's
he's
home.
getting excited when Paula gets home. Yeah.
How you doing, Cindy? Good to see you. But that's another thing that I'm going to do and address in the future. Seeing is that YouTube seems to think that arbitration of truth is de facto when it comes to authorities who change their, shall we say, guidelines daily, and who, by way of court-ordered papers to be put out, found out to be infactual. So there's a problem. And I will be back 1 minute, folks.
Puppy time, puppy time.
That would be interesting for you as well, I think, Brian. These both links I took in there. That shows you the insanity of what is all in their plans.
Oh,
and
I've been,
that there is already many cities on the world agreeing to that stuff and probably have something in progress already that you even probably don't even realize. I think it's about 15 or 20 cities in the US. Canada was a couple cities as well. Germany has 2 cities involved in that. It's crazy, eh?
yeah.
Well, wait till they start hitting, normal things for people that are, well, an example. Let's say they say the creation of whiskey or bourbon or anything like that is, not conducive to climate change. Watch what happens.
I'll be
Yep.
cleaning out my bathtub so I can make some stuff at home.
I mean, I don't know who of you heard about it, but they trying to do that with rice. Rice is bad. The rice plantation is bad for the climate, and they are trying to get rid of rice plantations. So
I don't think Asia's going to go along with that.
yeah, I guess if I'm not mistaken, I think rice is way more eaten than even potatoes. So if you would, rice is eaten on all continents. Africa has a lot of rice. South America, North America, Asia, we don't even talk about. So I mean, that's absolutely absurd.
Yeah, I just mean there's tons of patties. So I'm like, yeah, I don't think they would ever just stop because it's their main staple. Like for us, it's corn.
Yeah.
Like you can't outlaw corn. Like, what are you going to get these farmers to do for a living?
And the reason why they
For
want to
rice.
get rid of rice, the reason is that rice gets grown in flooded water plants, and they say there can be bacteria breed in that water, and that's one of the reasons why they would get rid of it. You know, this stuff has been happening for I don't know how many thousand years they have rice, so it's absolute insane.
Well, it doesn't have to make sense to make good laws for them, Uwe.
No, I mean,
Further their agendas.
common sense is completely out of humanity anyway. So,
Well, yes and no. The very fact that we're speaking about this shows that that's not totally true across the board.
no, but I mean not in general. I mean on the decision makers. You know, like I mean, how can you explain anybody that our safe power plants getting shut down and the other power plants in Ukraine, they are absolutely safe, even if they're flying rockets around, that doesn't matter, they are safe, you know. So what has that to do with any kind of sense?
Well, that's the point, Uwe, is it doesn't make any sense.
Everybody knows it, but nobody says anything, you know.
Well, yes and no. You know, everybody has assumed that our governments, for the most part, are supposed to have the interests of their people and the well-being of their people. And that's becoming more and more readily apparent not to be true. And we need to fix that. How, I couldn't tell you at the moment. But I know sitting and not trying to hold them accountable is not going to be effective. Even trying to hold them accountable is proving to be very problematic, to say the least. You know, so there really isn't an answer to that yet, Uwe. But as I said before, one at a time. And it will continue to be one at a time. This didn't happen overnight. It's not going to be fixed overnight. And there's many other things that I'm going to address in the future. But I think a lot of the salient things today is accountability needs to be brought back to our governments and our corporations. And we need to make sure that our country's governments stay accountable to the people and don't try to pass the buck off to third party unelected bureaucrats.
I mean, if you go back to the beginning, what Brian was bringing up with his article, with his speech, the countries would not even need to have an emergency act or whatever anymore if all the response for their responsibility would be on the WHO. Then they declare a worldwide emergency act, and everybody's under the control of any whatever pandemic or climate disease or whatever.
Yeah,
You
for
know?
sure. How you doing, Jeff? Good to see you. Hope you're
Lobster.
I hope your catch went well today. I'm not even sure what to call it, guy. I don't know what you call it. Lobstering, fishing. What do you call it?
Some of them were really, really huge lobsters, man. Holy
Hey,
crap.
look, I had some dandies today.
Yeah. There was some big ones in there. Ah, they're just on the way back. Was a long day then, eh? Holy shit.
I hope you did well. I hope it worked out well for you.
Yeah. It looked good though.
You want to address that
150?
there, Brian, on the panel? Not just posted in chat.
I don't have Twitter.
Yeah, so Dr. Bonnie Henry is the head of our health in BC. There's a class action suit starting on Monday over all the protocol that was put into place here in BC. So it should be an interesting case to follow if a person can. That's the link I put in there is the only person so far that's actually is going to be in the court and following the case. So it could set precedents for what goes on in Canada.
Well, we could do a lot more now. It seems that our countries are tied at the hip when it comes to this kind of stuff at the moment.
Yeah.
To some extent. The different policies, I should say, when it comes to certain things are way off in many places. That's why I suggested that GBN News thing, which I thought was just absolutely hilarious. But it's also sickening in the same point to think that we're still dealing with some of the things we are.
Yeah.
So that'll be an interesting thing to follow to see how that turns out.
It certainly will be.
So, but I think this is a good point now. I try to keep these around 2 hours, and we're now at 2:14. So I guess I touched upon what I wanted to touch upon earlier. I think there's been other points touched upon that I hadn't expected, but actually are still very relevant. So I'm going to end this panel now. I hope people do look at the links, and as I said, take my advice. Call your politicians. Hold them accountable.
Yeah.
If you got to call them every day, call them every damn day. Ryan, you got something going on.
Oh, do I?
Your microphone is acting weird.
It's like broken wire or something rubbing against the
Yeah.
case.
Yeah, it's broken wire or something. Yeah.
Is it quiet now?
Yep.
Yeah, it's now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but anyways, I'm gonna shut this down. I appreciate everybody coming up. Uwe, TPR,
All right.
Brian, everybody in chat. Thanks for showing up. I wish I was a little more prepared, but as I said, I had other things come up right before I was just about to go live. And then to be interrupted in the middle of it too. So,
Yeah, Paula.
I will be holding more in the future. Probably as hopefully my eyesight gets back closer to normal more often. Because I think there's many things that need to be talked about.
You did put in the community center, you're doing that one tonight, correct?
Yeah, I did. It's in the thing. So, as I said, everybody, I'm going to shut this down. Have a good one. And we're going to be out of here in 3, 2, 1. Later, folks.
Take care, everybody.